First-person shooters as a genre has always been an interesting one to me. It's a genre that absolutely emphasizes in how it feels in its mechanics, the creativity in those mechanics, as well as its weapons and the world around you. I think on the surface, it looks like a rather simple genre, but it's hard to master. But when it's done right, it just feels so good. There's just something about pulling off a difficult shot that makes you feel like a beast. Though, when looking for a good first-person shooter, what game should you invest in? Well, that's why I'm here, to make those choices just a little bit easier. So I made a list of the top 15 best first-person shooters on the Xbox One as of this moment, and I think Xbox as a console has always really done a great job in this genre. The controller alongside Xbox Live has been a great combination with FPS games, but do remember that all of this is only an opinion. Your top 15 may be different than mine, and if I don't mention a game you think deserves to be on this list, let me know in the comments below so others can discover those games as well. Also, for list purposes, I only choose one game per franchise, but with that said, let's get right into the list. At number 15, I have SUPERHOT, which is one of the more unique games on this list. This is an independent game with an interesting time-based mechanic where time can only move when you move. It's part FPS, part Matrix, part puzzle, and completely fun. SUPERHOT is very addictive, and I really like that it makes you feel almost like a superhuman as you dodge bullets, grab new weapons, or even slice bullets in half. The thing is, SUPERHOT allows you to be creative in how you defeat your opponents. At times you may just shoot at your opponents, but there is plenty of opportunities to be clever, whether that be throwing your weapons at your opponent or using your surroundings to your advantage. It also boasts a nice simplistic art style, and I would highly recommend this game. Wolfenstein is a long-running franchise dating all the way back to 1981's Castle Wolfenstein, but over its 39-year history, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus is arguably the best yet. Not only does the weapons feel punchy with cool weapons including the ability to dual wield, but offers a good story with fantastic characters. Wolfenstein 2, of course, is an alternate reality all about killing Nazis, and the characters are well written with good voice acting. Killing Nazis has always been a joy in games, and there may not be a better representation of this than in Wolfenstein 2. BIOSHOCK is a franchise that helped define the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. They were games among the very best for those consoles, but even when I see these games on current generation consoles, such as the Xbox One, I still think that they're among the very best. The atmosphere in the BIOSHOCK franchise is just fantastic, they're very unique, and I especially love how the first one is set up. You're in an underwater city, and it's a pretty spooky game, but even today, I think one of the most memorable characters is Big Daddy. If you like more of a single-player experience, though, I do think that the BIOSHOCK franchise is a must-play for any enthusiast of either FPS games or even just gaming in general. A part of me wants to place Alien Isolation much higher on this list because I really love this game. The Alien franchise is a legendary horror franchise, but it's more well known for its movies, with a bit of a hit or miss track record in the game industry. We all, of course, remember Aliens Colonial Marines released by Gearbox, so fans are going to be a little cautious with the Alien franchise in games going forward. However, Alien Isolation is the Alien franchise done right, and I say it can even stand side by side with the original Alien movies in this case. Alien Isolation pays a lot of respect to the Alien movies, and even the equipment that you use feels nostalgic with a dated feel to it. And it may be a first-person shooter, but let's not forget this is also a horror game, so it does have a very intense and spooky atmosphere as you are being hunted by the xenomorph alien. But things do start to calm down in the second half of the game as it becomes more android-focused. Not everybody likes this aspect of the game, but I think that Alien Isolation is an absolute slam dunk if you like the Alien franchise, both in terms of how it feels and in its story. I can actually see several people placing Destiny 2 much higher on this list. It's one of those games that when you like it, you really like it, and I can understand why. It's one of the most addictive games on the entire market, and in a way, it has helped define a new genre, looter shooters. In Destiny 2, it acts similar to something like an MMO, but it's actually a shared world. You do share a hub world with other players, and then you can go on unique missions with the ability to take players with you. It has a rich sci-fi world to explore, plenty of loot and gear to find to improve your character like an RPG, and I think the enemies are well crafted. It is the same developers that created Halo after all, so I think its world building is among the best on this list. It does also have a PvP mode, though I've never really been a big fan of it. I have seen others love it though, so there is that as well. If you like sci-fi shooters and like RPGs as well though, there isn't anything better than Destiny 2. Battlefield has become one of the biggest multiplayer-driven games of the last decade, and Battlefield 1 is a prime example of this. Though I think many first-person shooters recently really has been focusing on modern combat or futuristic, instead Battlefield 1 goes back in time and focuses on World War I. While this was pretty common on the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox, it's a little bit more rare to see in today's games, and it does make for a unique experience both in terms of its combat and its atmosphere. Battlefield though has always really excelled in both of those categories, putting you on big open maps, and it really makes you feel like you're in a war rather than just a small action-packed experience. Battlefield 1 also has a nice single-player edition that goes by the name of War Stories that has you playing as several different characters. While I do think that the best part of Battlefield 1 is its multiplayer, you can, however, get some extra mileage out of the War Stories. Metro is based off the novels written by Dmitry Glukhovsky, and it really shows. The world in Metro Exodus is one of the most atmospheric games in not only first-person shooters, but gaming as a whole. And I think for me that is the thing that really stands out about the Metro franchise. It has a really good story in a post-apocalyptic world after World War III. You are survivors after a nuclear war just trying to survive in the Metro tunnels with grotesque, mutated monsters living above you. However, in Metro Exodus, you instead will journey to the world above you to find other survivors, and this allows for much more open environments, and because this game is a full year in-game, you also get to see seasons change. The wildlife is fantastic, it has a good story, it's super atmospheric, and I would highly recommend it for any of these reasons. Doom has always been a premier first-person shooter, and that hasn't really changed after all of these years. Bethesda here managed to reboot this franchise in a new, refreshing way, while also giving it that old-school, fast-paced, frantic feel. It gives you unparalleled speed and movement compared to many more modern-style first-person shooters, and I think for that reason alone, Doom really stands out. It reminds me of playing old games like Quake and Unreal Tournament, but here you have a fun, chaotic single-player campaign to go through. It is rather gory, but it's one of the most rewarding first-person shooters as of this moment. If you do like old-school shooters though, Doom 2016 may be a great pickup, and also keep in mind that Doom Eternal is also right around the corner, and that game looks just fantastic. One of the most memorable games for me on the Xbox 360 was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It really took over the game industry, and everybody was playing it at the time. It was such a phenomenal multiplayer experience with its modern-styled weapons, perks, kill cams, and level-up system. I put hundreds of hours into this game, and now Activision has decided to go back and reboot this franchise from where all its success has originated, and quite successfully, I must add. Call of Duty, of course, has remained popular after all of these years, but this Modern Warfare reboot may be the best it has been in years. It still has that classic formula with all its fast-paced, fun multiplayer. You know, it has all that stuff that just makes Call of Duty so great, but it's just how it's executed. It just always keeps you feeling like you're in the action. You never feel like you're just waiting around. It also has an abundance of game modes for different experiences. Modern Warfare even has a story alongside it, and it's possibly the best it's been since, well, Call of Duty 4. If anything, it's one of the most complete packages on this entire list. If we're just talking about story-focused first-person shooters, then, well, Prey is possibly the best. This game is a sci-fi fan's dream, but don't let that distract you from some great first-person shooting mechanics as well, and one of the most fascinating enemies. Every time I talk about this game, I have to talk about these little guys because they were executed perfectly. See, there is an enemy in this game called mimics, which, like the name, will mimic other objects in the room. This can create a lot of tension for the player as every object suddenly seems like an enemy, so there is always a mind game going on there. But yes, if you like more single player experiences, then Prey is a fantastic choice, especially for you sci-fi fans. Resident Evil as a franchise isn't necessarily known as a first-person shooter, but with Resident Evil 7, it breaks that mold. Not only did Resident Evil make a big comeback after Resident Evil 6 was a little bit lackluster, but Resident Evil 7 immediately became one of the best games of the entire generation. For me, I'm not usually a fan of horror games, but Resident Evil 7 is an exception for me. It is very spooky, but with an absolutely fascinating premise. There is something that pushes you forward as you try to find the protagonist's missing girlfriend in a demented family's home. The more you explore though, the more freaky the whole situation becomes. Though the main focus is its story and exploring the haunted house, its shooting mechanics is tight, with several weapons defined, whether that be a pistol, a shotgun, or even a flamethrower. If anything, you're going to be glad every time you find a new weapon to keep you safe in this haunted house. Titanfall 2 may be the most underappreciated game on this list, and I really have no idea why. When Respawn Entertainment announced the first Titanfall, there was a huge amount of excitement, especially from Xbox fans, as it was one of the first big exclusives on the Xbox One. However, there seemed to be a little less buzz around Titanfall 2, even though it is a better game in absolutely every aspect. Titanfall 2 is similar to Call of Duty with how the shooting mechanics work, but there is a few things that makes it different. There is a heavy emphasis on movement and traversal, as you can run alongside walls and use thruster packs, and then you also have a number of mechs that you can use with their own unique abilities. It's honestly probably the best mech game I've ever played, and something that really surprised me about Titanfall 2 is its story. It's actually very well done, so when you put it all together, not only is Titanfall 2 a complete package, which is rare today in having both a good single player as well as a good multiplayer component, but it excels at each. Titanfall 2 is a must-have for any first-person shooter fan. If you know me at all by this point, you should know that Overwatch is one of my favorite games ever made, so it may be a little surprising that I don't have it placed at the #1 spot on this list, and that's mainly because I think Overwatch plays much better on a mouse than it does on controllers. With that said, Overwatch is still among the very best first-person shooters on the market, especially if you like team-based competitive multiplayer games, and I do think it still feels really good on consoles. Really though, Overwatch is all about teamwork, as each character in this game is different in how they play. They all have unique abilities, different movement styles, and different roles. In many ways, I think Overwatch has changed the landscape for competitive shooters, and even the kill system works different than in other games. Unlike many games, Overwatch instead focuses on eliminations, and because of that, everybody on the team is rewarded for kills as long as they shot an enemy, as they are eliminated instead of only one player getting rewarded for confirming a kill. It's so much better this way and helps players focus on wins instead of kill-death ratio. Overwatch is brilliant at what it does, and if you like competitive multiplayer games, then Overwatch may be the game for you. Much like Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege also offers an experience like no other game on the market. While many first-person shooters are built around being fast, Rainbow Six Siege instead is a game all about being tactical. The main component of this game is offense versus defense, with several different operators to choose from. Each operator has their own abilities, so teamwork once again is absolutely essential. If you are on offense, you must break into a location and either kill all the enemies, save the hostage, or plant bombs to win. While on defense, of course, well, you just defend. Then there is the sound effects, which are some of the best I've seen in any games. I love the sound effects in this game. You can hear every footstep and movement around you, though like I said, its brilliance is in how tactical it is. You have several tools at your disposal, such as the rappel hook, to climb buildings or even flip yourself upside down and shoot inside a window. You have drones to search rooms for hidden opponents, and you can poke holes in the several walls, which can be used either for or against you. It's a slow-paced game much of the time, but there is nothing like it, and nothing does tactical shooting better than Rainbow Six Siege. And the number one game goes to none other than Halo the Master Chief Collection. Halo, of course, is a legendary franchise, and with the Master Chief Collection, you don't only get one great game, but you get 6. Halo 1 through 4, Reach, and Halo 3 ODST. And the thing is, each game is different from one another, and all are among the best FPS games ever made. My personal favorites is Halo 2 and 3, and Halo 2 in this collection has been completely remade, which is an added bonus. It has amazing looking cutscenes made by Blur, and the graphics is much better than the original release, and it looks modern, honestly. Not only does Halo have a good overall story with a lot of lore, but it's the multiplayer that will have you coming back for more. For me though, and the main reason I list Halo so high, is not just because it's a complete package, but also I think it defines console shooters. While a mouse is always more accurate than a controller, that doesn't stop Halo from feeling fantastic on a controller. There is one thing I am sure of though, Halo is not only among the best first-person shooters on the Xbox One, but it's just one of the best shooters ever made. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if I forgot to mention any of your favorite games, let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.